Roscoe has a fun story about how to become the person you believe you can be, how to overcome obstacles, and how to realize that sometimes life does hand you the unexpected. When you get the unexpected, you can still make it great. As you hear Roscoe share his life-changing story of the Big Heads, you will learn more about how you are able to accomplish your goals, how to handle life when it does not turn out as planned, and how to remember that it's okay when you fall short, adjust, and move on. Roscoe.
Guys, quick, well, shake hands. Nobody been shaking hands today. Come on, man.
You're happy? I'm happy. And this was a felicitous occasion that we had around the dinner table when my 9-year-old son suggested we go to the Big Heads. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what the Big Heads are, that's Mount Rushmore. Because on Mount Rushmore, they have some pretty big heads. They have George Washington. Anybody know who's next? Thomas Jefferson. Tucked back in here, Theodore Roosevelt. And right here on the face, one of my heroes, Abraham Lincoln. Some great men on the Big Heads. We sat around the table and kind of waited, hoping there would be another idea that would spur our family trip. Now, we're careful not to call them family vacations, because a trip is when you take your kids. A vacation is when you go with your spouse or your significant other. So on our trip, as we were planning our trip and trying to decide if there was not a better option, Mount Rushmore went out. A couple reasons Mount Rushmore seemed a little leery to me is, one, it's quite a drive. It's a commitment from Utah. As my daughter learned long ago, the Allens rarely fly anywhere because we don't have wings. And when she asked for an airplane to take her on a trip, I gave her a little airplane and said, you can take this on the trip as long as you want. So we don't fly. So this is another road trip for the Allens. We get in our truck and we start the big trip to the Big Heads. Just to give you an idea of what my family is, we span from 17 years old. He's ready to go to college. This is his senior year. He graduated. He's ready to move on. But couldn't think of a better reason not to join us to the Big Heads. He had been there when he was 3 or 4, doesn't remember the trip, but he's game. And then I have 2 children in the middle. I have a 16-year-old who's too cool for all this. She's the one that wants to fly everywhere, but doesn't have wings. And then I have a 13-year-old and then my 9-year-old. So as we're all in our truck for this big, long trip, we're driving out, I have to tell them a little bit of history. Why is Mount Rushmore so cool? Well, some of the things about Mount Rushmore that make it cool are, one, the presidents that are on there. And it's majestic. It's in the middle of the mountains. You'll drive in and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's Mount Rushmore. Has anybody else been to Mount Rushmore? So as I'm describing this, you can visualize it in your head. For those who can, I've tried to describe where these people are and how they're laid out on this mountainside so you can get the same visualization. I'm trying to get the kids excited as we drive through, no offense, sir, Casper, Wyoming. As we drive through more of Wyoming and point out, yes, there's another antelope. That's where they play, is in Wyoming. Just antelope. But as we're doing this drive, I start to tell them, guys, when we get to Mount Rushmore, it's awesome. They have this parking lot. Oh, and as a side note, my dad's too cheap to pay for the parking lot. So when he took my mom there and they did not accept the Golden Eagle Pass, he refused to pay. He said, I'm going to keep my $11. We'll look at it from the road. He drove all the way to Utah and paid the extra $11. But as I explained, sad, huh? As I explained to him, you walk up these great stairs, and right in front of you are the state flags for each state that's in this union. And right behind that, you'll see this beautiful mountain with these presidents' heads. As we're driving in, a little overcast, I'm an optimistic person. I believe in positive thinking. It's going to blow away. It's going to blow away. But I learned from this experience that positive thinking is great. Faith might move mountains, but it won't move a cloud. we walked up out of the tunnel, my kids saw the few of the state flags, like the A's and the B's, and no Mount Rushmore. No problem, kids, we'll get a little closer and you can see more. We get a little closer. You still can't see Mount Rushmore. Have you ever had a goal that seems to be just out of reach? Just because I couldn't grab it and bring it in, doesn't mean Mount Rushmore wasn't there. The reason why Mount Rushmore changed my life wasn't because of the patriotic experience that they do at night, except I built it up to my kids so that it was exciting. The reason it changed my life is the person who carved out the mountain on Mount Rushmore, Mr. Borglum, started that work at 57 years old. And I use the word old in that experience because at that time, life expectancy was 57.1. He is in the latter years of the expectancy of mankind at that point in time. Hey, now, Robert even said we could live till we're 100, maybe 110. But he's undertaking this project at 57 years old. And they start to carve out the mountain. And at first, George Washington's head goes up just great. The next one, Thomas Jefferson, had some cracks. They had to blow it off. They sloughed the whole side off. Lost 2 years in the project. They kept moving forward with lots of confidence, lots of faith, and hard work. So as we toured this presidential circle, is what it's called, we walked up and we looked, and all of a sudden it would open up a little bit. You saw George Washington's nose, and we were so excited. Hey, look! He's there! Proof! And it cleared out a little. And we could see it a little bit better. It was still fuzzy, still hazy. But we could see our goal that we came to see. But in the process, we were learning a lot. If we could have seen the heads, we would not have learned some of these interesting facts about them having to slough off part of it. Why? Because you're too enamored with the mountain to read all the little plaques. When you can't see the mountain, you pay attention to the small details. We go on and we learned why each president was there. And then I explained, there's an awesome patriotic thing we're going to sit through tonight. And right as the sun was setting, the wind blew in, and we had a beautiful view of Mount Rushmore. So the campground host, a park ranger, started to tell us about Francis Scott Key's and writing the poem that then became our national anthem. The rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air. I could see my children following her every word and getting excited about this. And she said, hold on, we need to turn on the audio. We have a presentation about the United States. She walks back, pushes a button, on comes the screen. Then words start coming across the bottom. I realized two things rather quickly. Whenever you turn on a video, often noise is accompanied. Some type of music to get you in the mood, right? There was no music. When the words started to scroll across the bottom of the screen, there was no sound. Hold on a second, we're having audio technical difficulties. Goes back in, pushes a few more buttons, restarts it. The scene comes on. The words come on. And then she said, well, looks like we're having some audio difficulties. So here's my expectations. Once again, let down. She goes, hold on a second. Restarts it. Well, you guys can just watch in silence if you want to. The crowd, hey, we'll do that. So as we watch in silence, I learned the second thing. People can't just watch words going across the bottom of the screen. They have to read. Now, think of this. We have people from all over this great country of ours through this fantastic education system. We pull everybody together. As a group, we cannot read the words as they go across the bottom. Some people get words stuck on certain words. Majestic is one of those words you can't say as a group, I guess. There's other words that... So now we've got 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different groups reading these words. It sounds like pandemonium. My kids are losing the spirit of this patriotism. So she grabs the mic and starts to narrate it. But the words are way too fast for her to read for the first time. The kids are lost. They're like, wow, this is that patriotic thing Dad promised? We're not really into it. And then we started singing the national anthem. You would think that that would get us together as a group. Oh no, she skipped 2 lines. The words were on the bottom of the screen. My oldest son, who's a music major at the U, going to be a music major at the U, turned to me and said, Dad, if this is patriotic, technically he's dad, if this is patriotic, I don't want to have a part of it. And we laughed and sang the song. And then the great moment when they turn on all the lights. And somehow David Copperfield made the whole mountain disappear. All there was smog. But my kids knew that it was there. They knew Mount Rushmore was there. Borglum knew Mount Rushmore laid underneath those stones. When you have that goal that you might not be able to see clearly, that you're walking into the haze, know it's there. Push yourself. Don't listen to the naysayers that say, you're too old, you're too young, you're too bald. You can overcome any challenge. It's within you. That's where the strength of Borglum's experience in Mount Rushmore was to me. When I saw that at 34 years old, I left my corporate job and started SCO sourcing. And since then, it has always been a reminder to me, I am not too old to undertake my new goals. You have the power to accomplish your goals. Be willing to look through the smog and follow those goals.